Assalamu alaikum. We were just walking to our next location that we wanted to share with you for the Dalab al-Anbiya, but we came across this location that we thought we'd also share. Where you see al-Baked chicken, unfortunately, next to it is an entrance that leads into Mecca Hilton Towers. That location is where the house of Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq once stood. And this is a place where the Prophet ﷺ walked to, and with Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq they left for Ghar Thawr on the route to the Hijrah to Medina. There used to be a masjid built here, Masjid Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, but it was demolished in order to make way for the hotel good 40, maybe 30 years ago. And this hotel itself will be demolished to make way for the expansion of the Haram. This is Masjid al-Jinn, and although the Prophet ﷺ did not stop here on his way to the Hajj, the merit of this mosque and the historical significance still warrants a brief introduction. Before the Prophet ﷺ made his hijrah to Medina, he and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud went to the masjid in Mecca. The Prophet drew a line near Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and told him, "Do not move, since a group of jinns had gathered to hear the Prophet ﷺ recite the Quran." He also taught them about Islam and answered their questions. And later a group of jinns returned to this location and accepted Islam at the hand of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is why this masjid is also called the Mosque of Al-Bay'a, allegiance from the jinns to the Prophet ﷺ. Further down the road there is a mosque. It's called the Mosque of the Banner. It no longer exists, unfortunately, due to the expansion of this road. And the mosque marked the spot where the Prophet ﷺ placed his banner on the day of the conquest of Mecca. The Prophet ﷺ asked Zubayr to plant the banner in that location until he arrived. Is Jabal Abu Qubays. Currently the royal residence sits on top of this mountain. This was the mountain on which the Prophet ﷺ stood and this was also the mountain on which the Prophet ﷺ stood and asked the question from the Quraysh, if I was to tell you that an army was advancing from the other side of this mountain, would you believe me? To which they replied, yes. And then the famous exchange happened when he invited them to Islam. And they all for a moment thought about it until Abu Jahl stood up, or Abu Lahab, I can't remember which one of the two, and said, "Oh nephew, have you invited us to tell us these lies?" Something to that effect. At which point he had lost the crowd. This mountain is also called Jabal Amin, the trustworthy. It is also reported that Hajar al-Aswad landed on this mountain, and Sayyidina Ibrahim was directed here when he came to the valley. Some narrations even say that Sayyidina Adam was buried at the foot of this mountain. Allah knows best what is accurate from those narrations. One of the signs of the hour mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ is that the desert Bedouin Arabs will compete with one another in building high-rise buildings. And this is evident all around us here in Mecca. to the point that even the clock tower, ironically, is named as as-sa'a, literally the hour.
একটা বার করো না তাড়াতাড়ি